Hi, welcome back to this edition of WizeNotes. As you know, I'm Greg Voisin, the host of Inside Personal Growth and also of these WizeNotes edition. And today we're going to be talking about Wins in Your Sales by an author by the name of David Greer. And I recently had the pleasure of interviewing David about his powerful book that uses sailing as a metaphor for entrepreneurial success. David is not just a business coach. He's a former tech executive who built a multi-million-dollar company. He's sailed with his family over 5,000 miles across the Mediterranean and overcome challenges, personal challenges, including alcoholism. His unique perspective combines real-world business experience with hard-won life lessons. So what's the central premise here of David's book? It's really beautifully simple. He says that running a business is like sailing. You can't control the wind or the waves, but you absolutely can control how you set your sails and navigate the storms. So the key insight, focus intensely on what you can control and let go of what you can't. David's first major lesson is about facing what he calls the brutal facts. As he told me, 50% of the challenge is to face the brutal facts. Face them squarely on. You don't want to put your head in the sand, but if you squarely face the brutal facts, and especially if you face them not alone, but with help from others, he says, I've almost never met an entrepreneur who hasn't overcome it. This isn't just business advice, it's life advice. David faced his own brutal fact, alcoholism. On January 27, 2009, during a coaching call, he admitted his drinking problem and committed to recover. 16 years later, he's still attending his home AA group. Now, the lessons? Growth begins with radical honesty about where you really are. Let's talk about letting go, the paradox. To grow your business, you must let go of your business. David explains it perfectly. In order to succeed, entrepreneurs have to do it all, but the business grows to a certain point where the business is now bigger than them. So the most limiting factor in almost all business growth is the entrepreneur, him or herself. Think about it. If you hire someone better than you at doing marketing, you have to trust them to do the marketing their way, not your way. The very control that got you where you are can prevent you to getting you from where you want to go. So he talks about the 3-bucket framework. David shared a life-changing framework here from his coaching with Kevin Lawrence. Think of your life in 3 buckets. 1, career, business, finance. 2, life, relationships. And 3, self. Most driven entrepreneurs pour everything into buckets 1 and 2, completely neglecting bucket 3. But here's the truth. If you're completely selfless, giving everything to your business and relationships and nothing left for yourself, you're guaranteed to burn out. David emphasizes you need at least some percentage for yourself, whether that's jumping on or in an airplane, racing a car, going skiing, or hanging out with entrepreneur friends. For David, it's sailing, his ultimate source of renewal perspective. So one of David's biggest regrets is not planning with a longer horizon earlier in his career. His advice, start by looking at 3 to 5 years out. Where do you want to end up? Where is your market headed? What works best is to kind of look backwards and to figure out where you need to go and do it on a quarterly and then a monthly basis. So this isn't just strategic planning. It's about creating the vision that pulls you forward rather than just reacting to whatever crisis shows up today, tomorrow, the next day. So he talks about the happiness myth. That's the 5th lesson. David identifies what he calls the biggest myth around success, the belief that you'll be happy when you get there. But as he points out, for overachievers, when you get there, suddenly there's squared, then there's cubed. You know, the real question isn't when will I have enough, but What am I going to do today that brings me joy? Success isn't a destination. It's learning to find fulfillment in the journey itself. So values, he calls this your North Star, I should say. When the storm hits, and they will, your values become your navigation system. David asks his clients tough questions. Have you written your values down? What actions do you take to live those values? And are you willing to fire toxic A players who violate these values? Your values aren't just pretty words on a wall. They're the guardrails that keep you on your course when everything else could be in chaos. So building resilience. When your sales feel deflated, David's advice is simple but profound. Make sure you are carving out time to build your resiliency, to get your wind back in your sales. And if only for hours on a weekend, then just make sure to honor and take time for those 4 hours you might get. Whether it's playing with your grandkids or taking a walk on the beach, or yes, going sailing, protecting your renewal time isn't selfish, it's strategic. So David Greer's Wind in Your Sails reminds us that entrepreneurship, like sailing, is about navigating uncertainty with skill, courage, and wisdom. You can't control the storms, but you can learn to sail through them. The wind will shift, storms will come, but with right mindset, clear values, and the courage to face the brutal facts while taking care of yourself, you cannot only survive, or you won't only just survive, but you'll thrive. So remember, the goal isn't to eliminate the waves, it's to become a better sailor. For more insights from successful entrepreneurs and thought leaders, subscribe to Inside Personal Growth. And next time, keep your sails trimmed and your compass true. We appreciate you listening to this version of WizeNotes. And for the full interview with David Greer on Winds in Your Sails, please look for it in the show notes. We appreciate you listening to this WizeNote. Have a wonderful day and keep the sails up.